So I'm in my car, right? And I just got back from the house. Or rather, I was at my house and then I just needed to get out, needed to get away for a second. So I came to the masjid, and it's Maghrib time, but, they're not going to pray it right away. But I just wanted to, share this. And I know some of them are, like, seeing it right now, mashallah, and I'm just covering up some of the names because I don't want to expose nobody, But yeah, they made this for me today, because we're heading down the home stretch of, like, being done with school. And this was, like, my first year teaching, every single day, well, for this semester. And there's been so many things, like, good and bad, and, getting to my wit's end with some things, and learning things about myself, and just, interacting with the youth to that degree. SubhanAllah, there's, like, been nothing like it in my life, and I've worked with youth before, in many different ways. I've, been a tutor, been a babysitter, all these things, but never a teacher every single day. And, there was times when I just really didn't think that I could do it, for the various reasons, mostly to do with myself, because it's like, I don't doubt that I can deal with any hardships that come my way, because I've dealt with so many things in my life, so many different hardships, harder than this. But, being able to feel like I could do this every single day, to be open and honest and forgiving and, stern and strong when I need to be responsible for other people's children. It's always been, even as a babysitter or a tutor, that's always been, like, something big on my mind. But, there's just something about being in the institution of school itself, that gives, like, a little bit of that added pressure, because you're there to learn, you're there to learn, you're there to grow, you're there to do things even beyond yourself, like, you think about the next generations and how what you do now can affect that, just your individual self. And then you think about yourself in a collective, like them as a class. And this is just one of the classes that I teach, and it's the smaller group. But, their story in particular is it makes me laugh. It brings me joy, and it's just funny, like, just the everyday with them. If there was, like, any class that gave, like, so much life, it was this class. And that's not to say that I didn't like my other classes, because I did. But what I noticed, is that the older they get, because these are 10th graders. And even, like, the 9th graders and the 8th graders that I've worked with, like, even them, it's like you see that sparkle in their eye, you see the passion in what they try to do, and, like, the excitement that they have in what they make. And there's just nothing that beats that, just that life, the thing that you hope to see in people, any age that you work with. But obviously you see it the most the younger they are. But I chose to work with older kids because I feel like you're in that in-between. You're in that space where you're no longer a little kid, but you still have kid-like qualities and perceptions and stuff like that. But it's like you're trying to make your way into adulthood. And, getting to see that play out, just for my class, my little art class, it's still profound. And I've seen, you know, the older grades open up too, but it's always towards like the end, like when it's about to be over, it's like that's the time I start to see them actually opening up and getting that life in them. And I want to be able to see that with, you know, adults or, full grown adults and things like that. It's just when you see it, it's something that's infectious. It's something that, you know, you can play off of and grow, and everybody can appreciate it when they feel it. So, but 10A, you know what I mean? My class, or one of my classes, there's just been nothing like them. And how I met them was, kind of by chance. It was like maybe 2 days before school started, I was asked by the front desk manager if I would be willing to be a substitute teacher for an ELA teacher who, was out and she couldn't do it. And I was told that it would be a 2-month job and that I would take on her 3 classes. So that was like an 8th grade class, 9th grade class, 10th grade class. And that was like added to my everyday schedule along with my 11th grade class that I had for the first semester. And, I was only meant to do art with the 11th graders. But I ended up doing art with even the ELA class because it's like, why not spread the wealth? Why not spread the joy of art to all of the classes? So like for the ELA class, I would have them do something what I call the art reprieve. So that's something that we would do after they were done with their work, that I was just kind of making up and winging because I didn't have like access to the curriculum easily because there was like some scheduling conflicts or like different things that was going on. I can't even tell you what it was necessarily, but I just didn't have access to their curriculum. So I made one up when I was there with them for the 2 weeks that I was. But they really took well, like all the classes took well to the art reprieve. And they looked forward to it. So when I, told my class after 2 weeks of me trying to figure it out and it just being overwhelming, and, like there was like some difficulties and stuff, like I said, with the curriculum, I just was like, you know what? I was asked to be an art teacher, and I need access to this, and this, or whatever. So they just decided to, have me focus on my art class. And they found another teacher, substitute teacher for, those 3 grades that I mentioned. And the 10th graders were probably the most sad. They never let me live it down. Like for that whole first semester, anytime they saw me in the hallway, they would tell me how they're still mad at me for leaving. They would tell me sometimes that they hated me. But I knew that it wasn't like they actually hated me. It's just like they felt the pain. They still felt the pain that it caused when I had to leave them. So, I always felt that guilt, and it was the same thing with the 8th grade classes and the 9th grade class and all this kind of thing. But, my intention was to always try to come back in some degree to, give them the art class and all of this. But I just didn't see how that was going to happen because I was only meant to do the first semester. So in the second semester, I was approached to teach the other 11th grade class because there's 2 of them, and one of the 10th grade classes. And I asked them, I said, which 10th grade class is it? And they told me it was 10A, and I remembered them, and I was like, I'll do it. I'll come back for them. Because I didn't know the other 11th grade class at the time. But, even after spending time with them, even the ones that have given me such a difficult time, like, I could truly say that I love every individual that I got to spend time with and to speak with and to help them with the art and to understand how we could take art and, convert it into skills that we can use in everyday life and in their careers that they set off to do. So, alhamdulillah, like 10A was the end to the second semester, but, now I could say, like, I just have a special place in my heart for all of them. The 11B class, 11A class, and then 10A, mashallah. So, if any of them watch this, which I know some of them will because they follow me, I love you all for the sake of Allah, and I want to thank you for, your words of encouragement and your good vibes and energy. And, I'll remember it for the rest of my life, my first year teaching. And if there is any years of teaching after that, you guys have greatly influenced my teaching style and my pedagogy, as they call it, my teaching style. So, alhamdulillah, I know I was yapping, but whoever's been in my presence knows this is what I do. So it is what it is. But alhamdulillah, I can't thank Allah enough for this, and thank you to all of my students. Alrighty, peace.